Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah and this is my channel Woolen Words. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different and show you all how to crochet. So I wanted to start off with just the basics, the 101, how to, very simple. If you're a complete beginner, this is where you start. I have with me a 5mm or USH crochet hook. This is from the Clover brand. I do love these hooks because of their bigger grip. They're like more ergonomic. I find these hooks to be way more comfortable than, let's say, one like this. This is a boy metal hook. This one is a 6.5mm, so it is a chunky boy. But this one is all metal. Because I hold my crochet hook like this, I feel like I hit myself on this end a lot. And with the metal, after a while, it kind of starts to hurt. And there are things that you can do. You can hold it differently. People hold their hook like a pencil sometimes. I find that I use less movement when I hold it like this, like a fork and knife. It's up to you. It's whatever's most comfortable, whatever feels better and more natural to you. Totally fine. All right, so let us dive in. I just have some basic size 4 yarn. When you look at a yarn label, it'll have a little number 4 on top of a picture of a yarn skein. Depending on what you're making, what you're doing, it calls for different sizes, different weights of yarn. And this is just basic acrylic yarn. It's very budget friendly. You can find it at any hobby store, so like Michael's, Joann's, etc. So especially as a beginner, if you want some cheaper options, acrylic is definitely the way to go. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with using acrylic yarn. If that's all you can afford, then absolutely go for it. I definitely suggest using what you can. So I am right-handed. I hold my hook in my right hand and I hold my yarn in my left hand. So to start, we will need a slip knot. This is just a basic knot and the start of most yarn activities. It is not a forever knot. If you need to undo what you've done, you can also undo the slip knot. All right, here we are. I have my tail right in front of the palm of my hand, in front of my fingers, on the inside of my hand. I use these 3 to grab the yarn, just like that. And then I have it over my first finger, and my thumb will kind of guide it as needed. So it always rests over towards the back of my finger, and then it trails off to my ball of yarn back there. So I take this strand behind my first finger and I wrap it over itself so that there is an X. This is the start of my slip knot. This is a little trick I've picked up just over my years of crocheting. This is the fastest, easiest way that I have found. So I take my crochet hook and I put it under the top right side of the X, just like that. I hook on to that top left side of the X, and then I will pull it through. So then I have a loop on my hook, and when you pull both ends of the yarn, it will tighten up and become a slip knot. If you want the knot part to get tighter, you pull the tail end. And then if you need to tighten your loop on your hook, you pull the end that's connected to the ball of yarn. Now, starting off, you are always going to chain a certain number for your crochet, especially if you are crocheting flat. That means in one flat piece, back and forth. You're not going in a circle and all these crazy shapes. You're just knitting back and forth. And to start, this is where we will begin. So I have my slip knot here. The tail end is always going to be down, and I hold it at the beginning. I hold it with my thumb and middle finger just to give it an anchor point, because if not, if I just have tension on the yarn that's connected to the ball, it will just fly to the end of my hook and I can't do anything with it. So I give it a little bit of an anchor point with my thumb and middle finger. And then I have the rest of the yarn still like before with these 2 fingers and over my first finger. And that is just to create the tension. This also keeps the yarn behind my hook. So that keeps it easily accessible so that I can yarn over. I can put the yarn over my hook and bring it through the loop. So that is a chain. A chain is basically a loop through a loop, and this is the foundation for most crochet things. So again, you just put the yarn over your hook and you pull it through that first loop so that you have a new loop. And these are just pulling loops through each other and they create V's. These V's are your chain stitches. We can yarn over again and pull through, and now we have 3 chains. So this will look like a braid, a simple braid that you would do for your hair, and this will be the start of almost all of your crochet projects. And you can keep going as long as you need to, just continuing to pull the yarn through loop after loop. So for the purposes of today, I am just going to start with 6 loops, 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to do 1 more. And again, I am just hooking my hook around the yarn and pulling it through the loop. And that makes a chain. So now I have 6 chains. The yarn on your hook, the loop on your hook, does not count as a chain. That is just your loop that you're working in. A general rule of thumb is if you know how many stitches you are to start with at the beginning of a project, then you do 1 more chain than you need stitches. So if you need 5 stitches, you do 6 chains. And that is because you need some room to be able to enter that chain so you can make your first single crochet. Now a single crochet is the most basic stitch that you can make in crochet. For all intents and purposes, it is the only beginner stitch that you absolutely need to know, the chain and the single crochet. With those, you can make scarves, coasters. So we have our chain row right here, and we have 6 chains. So that means I am going to end up with 5 single crochet, 1 inside of each of these chains, except for the one that's closest to the hook. So if you can see this V right here, we are not going to work into that one because it is too close to the hook. So when I take my chain and I turn it sideways like this, the V's are just sideways. They're like little arrows pointing to the left. So what I like to do, and this is just a preference, you do not need to, I like to turn it so that you see these bumps. You have your chain, you flip it horizontal, and you can see those arrows pointing to the left, each V pointing to the left. So we're just gonna rotate it a little bit so that you see those bumps on the back of the chain. And those bumps are what I like to work into for single crochet, especially at the beginning of a project. I think it leaves a really nice finished edge on your project. And that's just a personal preference. You don't need to. Some people will just work into the top loop of the V. I really like working into those back bumps of the chain, so that is what we're going to do. I'm going to insert my hook into that first bump. It can be a little tricky, but it should not be so tight that you cannot put your hook in. So now I have my working loop, and then I have that chain bump loop, and we have the yarn behind our crochet hook. Now we are going to yarn over and we're going to pull it through that first loop. So now we still have 2 loops on our hook, And they should be even in size. You know, they shouldn't be super, super tight to where you can't hardly move it. But it also shouldn't be so loose that it doubles in size. And this one is taller than this one. They should be about equal. And this is half of a single crochet. So we are going to yarn over one more time. And we are going to pull that through both loops so that we end up with one loop back on our hook. And this right here is our first single crochet. So now we are going to move to the next bump in that chain. If you need help, rotate it back horizontally, find those V's, and then turn it sideways and find that bump. That is going to be our second crochet, single crochet. So insert your hook there, yarn over, pull through so that you have 2 loops on your hook, and now we're going to yarn over again and bring it through both loops so that you end up with 1. Now we are going to go into the next bump. We're going to yarn over and pull through, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through both loops so that we end up with 1 left on our hook. So if you notice, this looks quite a bit different from our chain. The chain was very easy to see those V's because they were the only loops that we were making. But now we have loops going in all directions. So to kind of show you where we're at, these V's right here are your single crochet. You have just a plain V, no extra loops in there. Now if you turn to look at the top of your work, you will see these V's. And these look a whole lot more familiar. They look like our chain V's. So these mimic the chain stitches that we did from the beginning. But those are the top of your single crochet stitch. They're like a little hat for your V, a little hat for your stitch. This will be important later so that we know where to work on the next row. But let's finish out this row. We have 2 more bumps. So we're going to do 2 more stitches. Again, yarn over and pull through the first loop, and then yarn over and pull through both loops. 1 last bump. We're going to go through that bump, yarn over and pull through that first loop, yarn over and pull through both. So now we have completed the row because there are no more bumps to work into. We've reached the end of our chain. So we should have 5 single crochet. And if it's easier, turn it sideways and look at the tops of those stitches. Since we have 5 single crochets, we should have 5 V's, 5 stitches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now, how the heck are we gonna start crocheting again? We gotta turn around, we gotta turn our work. So to do this, the basic step is to yarn over and pull through. That's a chain 1. We're going to chain 1. After we have our chain 1, we are going to turn our work. We're just going to take it, it was like this. We're just going to flip it so that it now looks like this. Now the back of the stitches look different. Don't freak out, you can still find the tops of your stitches. We are going to be working into the top of each of those single crochets that we worked from the first row. And you can see those V's again. So we're going to work into each 5 single crochets from the first row. You enter the top 2 loops, so the top V, you're going to put your hook under both of those loops, and you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop so you have 2 loops on your hook again. And then we are going to yarn over and pull that yarn through both loops so you end up with 1 loop again. And then you're going to find the next V right here. Again, they're always going to be pointing to the left. You're going to go to the next one You're going to insert your hook under both of those loops, those V, the whole V. You're going to yarn over, pull up a loop so that you have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops so you just have 1 again. And you're going to find the next V, put your yarn under both of those loops, pull up a loop, you're going to yarn over and pull through both of those, and that's a single crochet. So again, you can see this little space. That is going to be where you put it under to find that V. You can always check for the V if you need to, but you'll get used to what it looks like from the side so that you don't always have to turn it. Again, yarn through, bring up a loop, yarn over, and bring it through both loops. And then right now, just to check how many we've already done, you can look for those V's again. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need 1 more. We're going to go to this last V over here, put our hook under that V, and we're going to pull our yarn through, have 2 loops on the hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through both so that you have 1 loop back on the hook. And we have completed our 2nd row of crochet. We're going to chain 1, turn our work. So now we are going to find those V's on the top, and we're going to insert our hook into that first V. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop so that we have 2 loops, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through so that we have 1 loop. And that again is a single crochet. We're going to go to the next space, the next V. We're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And then we just keep going, finding those V's, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop through both loops. And that is going to be our 3rd row. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So this is the basics of crochet. The chain that we did at the bottom, and then the single crochets that we worked across each row. And you want to be careful not to lose any stitches, so at the end of each row, make sure you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That way, your project will not get smaller or get wider as you crochet each row. All right, thank you so much for joining me on this super beginner friendly how to crochet tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it or found it informative. Let me know if there's something that I missed or something that you want to know, and I will totally explain it in a future video or in the comments as best as I can. Again, I hope this helped you. If it did, please give it a like and comment down below where you're at in your crochet journey. And let me know what you are making or what you want to make. I would love to know and be on your crochet journey with you. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all very soon. Bye!